From outstanding academic achievements to partnerships that ignite change, let's take a journey through the corridors of knowledge and achievement as we celebrate the remarkable successes of our students, districts, and schools across the beautiful archipelago of the Bahamas. Get ready to hear about initiatives that didn't just work, they thrived. Join us in this episode of Celebrating Success, Spotlight on Education Initiatives in the Bahamas. Keep watching. A brand new episode of You and Your Money starts now.
You and Your Money is brought to you by the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training.
Welcome to You and Your Money, everyone. Joining us today to talk about academic achievements is the Director of Education, Mrs. Dominique Russell. Mrs. Russell, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
In the past year, there has been schools and students who have achieved exceptional academic performances. Can you give us some examples?
Well, we have 159 schools in the public education system. But when I think about academic consistency, I think about 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗑 Senior High School, which is a all-around school in terms of academics, athletics, and the arts. I think about 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗚𝗧𝗏, 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗚𝗏 Samuel Guy, all age, St. George's, Jack Haywood. We just have a lot of schools doing pretty well.
Wow, you surely did go ahead and list off quite a number of schools. Were there any particular students that really stood out over the past year?
H.O. Nash has been quite consistent. This year we had more than 30 students who got all A's on their BJCs.
Wow.
And a student that stands out to me is 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗪𝗡. She got 12 A's and 1 B on her BJCs.
12 A's and
Yes.
1 B. My Lord, that is really, really amazing. And I think it's definitely commendable to the teachers, of course, even to the parents or the guardians that would have assisted, even the students, all of the students that would have actually taken the time to actually sit the examinations.
Yeah.
Now, how did these achievements impact the overall academic environment and the reputation of the actual schools?
There has been great impact. You have, for example, teachers who want to be posted to these schools because the schools are known for success. Everyone wants to work for an organization that wins. And so one of the results of winning is more people want to participate in winning. We've also had parents who want to move out of their catchment area and they want their children to participate or be enrolled in these schools. And so we've had a plethora of calls over the summer asking for children to be registered at our excellent schools. And so, yes, it does have its good effects and sometimes bad because the school then becomes overcrowded.
So how do you guys actually manage the overcrowding or even the demand for wanting to go to specific schools?
Well, quite frankly, what we do is a first come, first served basis. And once the classrooms or the school, the numbers are maxed out, then we have to definitely send them to another school closer to where they live. And so that's one of the ways that we do it. Of course, sometimes parents will go above our heads and they will call whoever they can call to try get in. But of course, we're not able to do that. We want to ensure that the environment is conducive for all of our children. And overcrowding in any school means that there will not be any classes, limited teachers. We're not able to give the kind of quality education we want to give if the classes are overcrowded.
And that's totally understandable. Which educational programs or initiatives were particularly successful in improving the academic outcomes?
Well, one of the things we did this year, especially in regards to the learning losses that we would have experienced, we would have engaged Renaissance Incorporated as a consultant to provide a diagnostic test for all of our children. And once that was completed, our children, we recognized where those gaps were and we provided remediation. But more than that, we've had a whole lot of good teamwork amongst our team members that would have allowed for our children to succeed.
Now, can you actually share some specific details about the actual structure and probably even the implementation of the successful programs?
The actual structure, students took a 20-minute diagnostic test, and the questions were asked. If a child had a certain difficulty, they asked them the question and they got it wrong, they would ask a question below. Or if they got it right, they would ask another question, so that by the time as the test was finished, you could really target where the gaps were. And then, of course, we provided those results to the teachers so they could see what the gaps were, and they could actually target the instruction towards remediating those gaps. More than that, what we've seen in our excellent schools is a team effort. Support staff, the administrators, the teachers, we've seen them build confidence in the children, and then the extra classes build competence. And then, of course, we've had proficient teachers, but more than proficiency in terms of skill, but also will, the motivation. They were motivated teachers, so skill and will. We've also seen them build in the students' grit, that mental toughness that says, I can do this, you know, I can do my homework, my assessments, my assignments, I can take 12 subjects and pass with A's. And then there was a monitoring. They consistently monitored for results to ensure that children were doing the assignments and the homework. In fact, one school says, if you get a D, means do it over. D means do it over. And then finally, what we saw is they celebrated every win, every single win, whether it was academic, athletic, artistic, the social responsibility, the environmental responsibility or stewardship. They celebrated their children and they celebrated their teachers.
Now, in those instances where some of the schools actually faced academic challenges, what are some of those initiatives that were implemented to help them to overcome them?
In terms of remediation, because as I said, we didn't only see gaps in learning, we saw gaps in skills, and that's athletic skills. We saw gaps in motivation, a kind of lethargy towards education. We saw gaps in communication, that conflict resolution issues, and of course, environment. Some children became caregivers for their families. And so some of the programs that schools implemented, including breakfast program, the lunch program to provide for the basic needs. They've also sought to provide early morning classes, lunch classes, afternoon classes, weekend classes, just to give children the extra time. Because the research showed us that children who are struggling need that quality time, that individual, targeted, personalized support. And so teachers provided that. They went above and beyond the call of duty to provide those qualitative opportunities for children. And then they also ensured that children participated in co-curricular and extracurricular activities, such as your clubs, your spelling bees, your debates, so that children had opportunities to, just do some positive things and to build their character and, of course, to self-regulate. And so it was a holistic approach to children's their education.
We're definitely grateful as a community at large in terms of the holistic approach that's being taken towards our children. Mrs. Russell, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
And thank you.
We have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at outstanding district achievements. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
The 17th 𝗖𝗎𝗡 Business Outlook is coming up on Thursday, October 19th at Sandals Emerald Bay. Join us as we discuss the theme Forward, Upward, Onward Together, a bold vision for 𝗖𝗎𝗡 in celebration of the nation's 50th anniversary of independence. Keynote address by the Honorable 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗏, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation. Speakers are Tracy Boucher, Gowan Bowe, Rob Coughlin, Dennis DeVoe, Tracy Cooper, Sarah Swanson, Brent Hurt, Lakeisha Anderson Roll, Sheandra Newton, Tony Seymour, Robert Deal, and Carrie Fountain. Don't miss this valuable networking opportunity. Register now at tclevents.com. That's 𝗖𝗎𝗡 Business Outlook, Thursday, October 19th.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. We're continuing our discussion on celebrating success, spotlight on education initiatives in the Bahamas. In this segment, we're going to focus on outstanding district achievements. Joining me now is the District Superintendent of 𝗖𝗎𝗓, Mr. Michael Culmer. Mr. Culmer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Mr. Culmer, Can you highlight some of the outstanding achievements and successes of your district in the past school year?
Thank you so much. The 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗏 district we pride ourselves on being the district of first choice. We have always maintained outstanding BGCSE and BJC performance higher than the national average. The 𝗖𝗢𝗏 district boasts of having the national spelling bee winner, West Underwood from the 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗧𝗜𝗓 School. We're also boasting of our 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗧𝗜𝗓 Johnson, who will be representing the Bahamas at an environmental conference in Dubai. We are one of the first family islands to launch the University of the Bahamas' Jumpstart program. And I am pleased to be able to announce today that we have the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Rangers program in every one of our high schools, from 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗧𝗜𝗓 and Harbour Island in the north, all the way to Preston Aubrey in the south.
It sounds as though you have quite a number of accomplishments for your district. Now, which specific initiatives or strategies would you say contributed significantly to these achievements?
Well, the achievements in the 𝗖𝗢𝗏 district would not have just happened last year or this year. When the 𝗖𝗢𝗏 district came out of the pandemic, our teachers were proactive. Every teacher, every administrator, they did the testing to identify where our students were. And even before the Ministry of Education would have implemented programs, the faithful teachers of the 𝗖𝗢𝗏 district were offering after-school programs, lunchtime programs, ensuring that our students were making up for the time missed during the pandemic.
Were there specific goals or targets that your district set out to achieve, and how were these milestones reached?
At our primary school level, one of the things that we try to do is to ensure that our students are not left behind. It begins in the primary school, where our focus is on literacy and numeracy. Our teachers commit themselves and are dedicated to ensuring that our students can read as soon as possible. The programs continue with the reinforcement and the after-school programs with the 𝗓𝗏, grade 3. After-school lunchtime classes with 𝗓𝗏 at grade 6. Volunteer free after-school classes, lunchtime classes, preparing our BJC students. And it continues at the secondary school level with our BGCSE. We have that culture of preparation for examinations that focus on student achievement.
How would you say that the collaboration among the educators, as well as the administrators and other stakeholders, contribute to the district's success?
We believe that our schools do not exist in a vacuum. The pillars of our academic society, the home, the school, and the community, we truly work at that. Being in a family island, relationships are key. Our parents are able to come collaborate with our teachers. Our community partners, they sponsor in-school activities. They are there celebrating the students' successes, making the donations for necessary items for the schools, television, LCD projectors, things like that, sponsoring school celebrations when we're doing the award ceremonies. Our corporate partners and community partners are also a key part of our district events. We conduct our spelling bees from grade 1 all the way up to the 𝗖𝗢𝗏 District Spelling Bee. And our corporate sponsors provide trophies, provide meals, provide certificates. Our corporate sponsors are a part of our debate. Our corporate sponsors are there to assist us with professional development, rooms, tickets. We cannot make it. Our programs will not be successful without our corporate sponsors.
How did the district engage with the local community to enhance educational outcomes, and were there any noteworthy community-driven initiatives?
Sometimes our students have needs that are beyond education. Sometimes our students need uniforms. Sometimes our students need meals, and our corporate sponsors, our churches, they have provided meals, they've provided counseling services, they provide other resources to our schools. Our community partners are also there to aid us with bringing in specialists. We have groups that bring special teachers in. We have EEO, for example, that works with our students with special needs in our schools, totally voluntary. We have the 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗧 Foundation that assists our schools with CTE education. We have the 𝗖𝗓𝗥𝗜𝗦𝗧𝗜𝗓 Institute that is assisting with environmental education. There's the lab project at Deep Creek Primary School. We have the ministers and pastors across 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗧 that aid us with conflict resolution, that assist us with counseling. And there are so many others. We have businesses that have adopted schools, where those schools get regular sponsorship for specialized programs across our 17 schools in the 𝗖𝗓𝗧 district.
You mentioned EEO. What does EEO stand for?
It's 𝗖𝗓𝗧 Education Outreach. Forgive me for the acronym. They partner with our schools, providing reading specialists, intervention specialists, testing for those students with special needs, those exceptional educators. And it's a pull-out program where the students spend some time with the counselor, with the specialized teacher, and they are reintroduced to the classroom.
Wow, it sounds as though you have quite a bit of initiatives and things happening there in your district. And I want to applaud both you and your team on doing such an amazing job.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud and so happy that you mentioned the team. Without the team, every person feeling their worth, understanding their worth and value, and contributing, it would be impossible. We have things like professional learning communities where our teachers can collaborate in virtual space to get things done. We have ongoing professional development, and we're promoting and encouraging our schools to engage in the professional development. We can't wait until there's an issue before we intervene.
There was a saying, prevention is better than cure.
Indeed.
Mr. Culmer, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have to take another break, and when we get back, we're talking about community partnerships and goals. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
The 17th 𝗖𝗎𝗎 Business Outlook is coming up Thursday, October 19th at Sandals Emerald Bay. Join us as we discuss the theme Forward, Upward, Onward Together in celebration of the nation's 50th anniversary of independence. Keynote speaker, the Honorable 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗏𝗏, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, will be joined by a diverse slate of speakers. Don't miss this valuable networking opportunity. Register now at tclevents.com.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. We're continuing our discussion on celebrating success, spotlight on education initiatives in the Bahamas. In the previous segments, we spoke about academic achievements and outstanding district achievements. In this segment, we want to talk about community partnerships and goals. Joining me now in this discussion is Mr. Kent Lightbourne, Principal of Doris Johnson Senior High School, along with Mrs. Savannah Darville, Principal of 𝗖𝗓𝗡𝗖𝗧 Junior High School. Mr. Lightbourne and Mrs. Darville, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Mrs. Darville, I want you to talk about what are some of those specific goals or focus areas of your partnership with community groups, law enforcement, as well as other organizations.
Well, I like to, as a school leader, believe in the old adage of it takes a village to raise a child. And so while we, the experts at school, provide the academic instruction, we rely on the community to provide that support for the other aspects of the social development of our students. And so in the past year, we would have had clubs such as the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Rangers, YEP, and other organizations helping us out. But I think the most fitting one or the most impactful one would have been our arrangement with the law enforcement branch in the reintroduction of the school policing program, or what we commonly call our school resource officers. I thank Minister Hannah Martin for her foresight in bringing them back into the school, because as was noted by our director, there was a social deficit coming out of COVID. And so that program has assisted us in some of the social challenges that we would have had around the schools.
I agree totally with Superintendent Darville. As educators, our primary job is to educate. However, we've realized that in order for education to take place, the environment must be conducive. And if we are to focus on our primary job of education, we need the partnership from our community stakeholders, especially those that have a direct impact on students. And for us, that really includes our parents, our community stakeholders. But lately, one of the chief or the main allies that we have had in creating this inclusive learning environment is the police force and our SROs, or our student resource officers. And I have to thank the police commissioner, the education minister, and our director for their insight in instilling this program, because it really has had a very positive impact on our schools.
Now, Mr. Lightbourne, what are some of those initiatives or even other programs that were implemented through the partnership, and what positive impact did they have on the students themselves as well as the broader school community?
Glad you asked that. Some of the initiatives that we introduced really stemmed from our need to create a climate or an atmosphere of learning. And at the beginning of the school year, we noticed that a number of the students were unsettled. And these students, primarily, the demographic group were the boys. And the boys between especially the ages of 14 to 16, the younger boys just coming in. And our SRO, our student resource officer, we partnered with them in order to get programs and initiatives that would occupy these young men and try to give them a sense of discipline and direction. One of those programs specifically has to do with our outreach programs. So one of the things that we would have done, first of all, was make home visits. And our initiative of home visits, I think, had a very positive impact, because we were able to go into the neighborhoods and speak to parents. In some instances, there were grandparents or guardians, and we were able to get a better understanding of what really was going on in the lives of our students, in that oftentimes we just see them at school and we're not understanding the totality of the impact that's having, that the environment is, the home environment, the community is having on them. And that gave us a better insight, because a lot of times our first instinct is to suspend students or to punish them, but we're sending them back into an environment where the problem exacerbates the condition that we're trying to stop. And so our home visits with me, myself, I really always went with my SRO, and that person is Police Constable Ronaldo Pinder. And he was so instrumental in assisting me in our home visits, speaking with parents and getting a better understanding of what's going on, so that we could therefore produce programs that was more individually catered to the students.
Yes, and I support what Mr. Lightbourne just shared, because I thought that the reintroduction of the school policing system was more like reintroducing community-based policing. And it allowed our students to see the police officer in a different light. Because I think for a lot of our children, they see police as coming in and arresting a family member or something like that. And now they got to see the police as a caring individual, somebody who invested time. At my school, the police officer would be seen every lunchtime, having lunch with the kids, playing games, Connect Four, dominoes, engaging it with them. Those boys that were deemed at risk, he provided a program for them where they would have drills and introduction to law and all of that kind of stuff. Additionally, out of that came the busing program, where the police officers introduced the buses that were en route around the schools onto the school campuses so that it limited the amount of students that had to leave the school campus and walk to the bus stop, which minimized the amount of incidences that we would have had along the street. So the school policing program has really added to the climate of control and seriousness that is necessary on a school's campus.
Now, Mrs. Darville, are there specific success stories or notable outcomes that highlight the effectiveness of this collaborative effort?
Oh, yes. Mr. Lightbourne and I were fortunate to travel to Indiana this summer and be a part of the National School Resource Officers Conference. And yes, school resource officers exist around the world. And we were so proud that coming out of the island of 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗪, we just had District Superintendent Culmer in boasting about the successes on the island of 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗪. Officer Pratt from the island of 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗪 was honored and received a commendation for his program at a school in 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗪, where he introduced the marching band to the school community. And so that was internationally recognized, and he received an honor for that. And so I'm sure there are stories like that on almost every campus around the country, but he stood out as he was honored alongside a police officer from Dubai.
Kudos to our police officers for doing a good job. Mr. Lightbourne, how have partnerships addressed the needs of our student population? And were there specific demographic groups that were targeted or that benefited the most?
Yes, I think the last part of your question I'll deal with first. The most impactful demographic group were the young boys. And like I mentioned earlier, really from the age of about 14 to about 16, they're trying to find their way and they need guidance. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of male role models, positive male role models for the young men to model their lives after. One of the partnerships that we've had to provide this type of positive male role model is our partnership with Grace Community Church. Okay. And they have helped us with a program that we call Big Brother Mentoring Program. And so those same young men that we may deem to be at risk, we get them together in our guidance conference room, and Grace Community Church would bring positive messages to these young men using male role models to try to give them something to look forward to, something to model their lives after. So yes, like Superintendent Darville was saying, our SRO is more than a disciplinarian. He is more of a mentor and a role model to our male students. And for us, we have found that being able to affect those students, that demographic, has really changed the climate of the school.
Well, Principal of Doris Johnson Senior High School, Mr. Lightbourne, and Principal of 𝗓𝗙 McPherson, Mrs. Savannah Darville. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Celebrating the successes, partnerships, and achievements across our school districts and communities leaves us with a renewed sense of optimism for the future of education in our beloved archipelago. Let us continue to spotlight the remarkable endeavors transforming the landscape of education, one student at a time. Here are our dollars and cents snapshots from this week's show. Number 1, educational investments. Supporting successful education initiatives not only benefits students, but also strengthens the workforce, attracting investments and fostering economic growth. Number 2, collaborative education. Collaborative efforts between businesses and schools can create mutually beneficial partnerships, enhancing educational outcomes and providing valuable resources. Number 3, business education. Encouraging entrepreneurship in education can lead to innovative solutions and job creation, contributing to economic diversification and prosperity. If you want to know more about how you can be my next guest on this show, you can send me an email at ria@riacristina.com with the subject line, Next Guest. That's it for today's show. Don't forget to follow You and Your Money on Facebook and tune in next week for a brand new episode. I'm Ria Christina. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
You and Your Money was brought to you by the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training.